So every October, we have Black History Month. It's meant to be a time for celebration and recognition, but this year, something just feels different. That usual sense of community, it feels like it's being overshadowed by a rising tide of tension. It's making the whole observance feel way more fragile than ever before.
And this quote from journalist Ahaba Ali Hussein, wow, it just captures the mood perfectly. There's this sense that the ground is shifting beneath our feet. The atmosphere she's describing isn't just about simple disagreement. No, it's a much deeper division that really changes the entire nature of a public celebration like this one.
And this creates a really dangerous paradox. Think about it. The very reason we need the education and unity of Black History Month is to combat ignorance and division. But now, that whole effort is being threatened by this climate of fear. The real risk is that when the message is needed most, people might feel pressured into celebrating quietly or maybe not celebrating at all.
So, how exactly did this celebration become so fragile? Let's get right into it and explore that tension head-on in our first section.
This right here lays out the conflict perfectly. On the one hand, the goal of Black History Month is crystal clear: celebration, education, and unity. But the reality on the ground, at least as described in our sources, is, well, it's a whole other story. It's one of increasing fear, political division, and social unrest.
To really get why this month is so important, especially right now, we've got to go back to the beginning. Why was it even created in the first place? Let's jump to our second section and see how this all began with the missing history.
Okay, so this is Dr. Carter G. Woodson, an absolutely pivotal figure. Way back in 1926, he launched something called Negro History Week. And he did it because he saw this massive gap in how world history was being taught and understood, a gap he was determined to fill.
Now, this is the crucial point. His goal wasn't to create some separate, isolated history. Not at all. It was to correct the existing one. He wanted to integrate the stories, the achievements, and the struggles of Black people back into the main narrative, to restore what he called a missing segment of world history.
From that foundation, the week eventually grew into a month, and with that growth came a whole new set of questions. This brings us right into the modern debate, which is captured so beautifully in the reflections of Dr. Shungum Gadza, starting with what she calls the child's question.
It sounds so simple, right? But this question, it gets right to the very heart of the conversation today. In a world that's supposed to be striving for equality, why do we set aside one particular month?
And this follow-up, boom, it just powerfully frames that central tension. It speaks to the ultimate goal, doesn't it? A goal where Black history is simply seen as history, woven seamlessly into our curriculum and our collective consciousness, every single day of the year.
So how do we answer that, child? Well, the sources suggest that Black History Month kind of acts like a mirror, reflecting different things to different people depending on who's looking. Let's explore that idea in Section 4, a mirror of perspectives.
Okay, so the biggest challenge that pops up again and again from all these different viewpoints is the risk of tokenism. It's that feeling that the month becomes this convenient substitute for a real, year-round commitment, instead of being the catalyst for it.
And this quote just illustrates it brilliantly. This is exactly what tokenism feels like in practice. It's the sense that once October 31st hits, the posters come down, the corporate logos change back, and the whole conversation just goes silent for another 11 months.
This table does a great job summarizing how different people experience the month. You've got a parent who's worrying, is 1 month really enough to protect my child from daily bias? A teacher who's asking, is my lesson plan a genuine springboard for learning, or is it just another poster on the wall? A professional wondering, do my contributions only seem to matter in October? And for law enforcement, it's an even tougher question. How do we even begin to honor a community's history when trust itself is so broken?
So all of these different perspectives lead us to these really fundamental questions about the month's real impact. Is it a true springboard for lasting change? Or is it just a spark that kind of fizzles out by November? Does it actually bring people together? Or does it sometimes end up highlighting the very divisions it's trying to mend? And maybe most importantly, does it lead to real, meaningful action? Or does it just stop at temporary awareness? All of this really points to one clear conclusion, a shared goal that takes us right into our final section, beyond a single month.
This right here, this is the ideal that everyone, from Dr. Woodson back in the day to the child asking the question today, seems to be reaching for. The idea isn't to get rid of the month, but to make its principles so ingrained in our daily lives, in our schools, our workplaces, our communities, that the distinction isn't even necessary anymore.
So if that's the goal,
we have to come back to that central question. Why do we still need it? And Dr. Magadza offers this simple, incredibly powerful answer. The month exists as a reminder, as a catalyst, and as a way to measure our progress, precisely because the work of full integration and justice is not yet done.
So what does that work actually look like? Well, it seems to break down into 3 clear steps. First, use the month as that mirror we talked about to really see what's missing. Second, actively challenge tokenism wherever you see it. Ask what's going to happen in November. And third, make a real conscious effort to carry the learning forward every single day.
And that brings us right back to where we started. In these fragile, kind of frightening times, the sources suggest that celebrating Black History Month openly, proudly, is more than just an observance. It becomes an act of resistance. It's a direct refusal to be silenced by fear or torn apart by hate. Ultimately, Black History Month holds up a mirror not just to our society, but to each and every one of us. It reflects what we know, what our blind spots are, and the role we play in the work that's still left to do. So the final question is really for you to think about. Black History Month is a mirror. What is it showing you?